the Bald Oncologist podcast series, featuring Dr. Malwender.
Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of the Bald Oncologist podcast series. In our studio today, we have Professor Dr. Murallitharan from National Society Cancer Malaysia. Welcome to the show, Prof.
Thank you so much for having me, Doc. Always a pleasure.
So, Prof, can you tell me a little bit about NCSM? What do they do? When did it started?
So, National Cancer Society of Malaysia was started in 66 and existed a few years before that as well. So, was originally started by the first Malaysian oncologist, Dr. S.K. Dharmalingam. So, and originally when they started the society, it was to pay for chemotherapy.
It's a charitable society.
Yeah, it's a charitable society. And over the years, the society has always kind of tried to accommodate where the gaps are in providing cancer care. So in the 60s and 70s, they set up the first set of mammography machines, that time in Southeast Asia, to screen for breast cancer in KL and Penang. Then subsequently, we ran radiotherapy in a few centers all across Malaysia to support MOH. And now the society has, of course, moved to do newer things in closing that gap.
Oh, that's good. So how does the society now help in our cancer patient to get affordable drugs in Malaysia?
Okay, so we're doing a couple of big things. The first, of course, is to kind of open up access to innovator drugs. And that's always, as you know, innovator drugs are basically high-priced drugs.
It's very expensive.
And but they are always like new, by the name innovative, and they're very helpful for a lot of patients, especially a lot of patients in advanced care. So what the society does is, in many instances, we work with the companies themselves to put in more broader patient access programs. And recently, we have actually gone down the road to actually develop and implement one of Malaysia's first means testing tool, which is specific for cancer. So where we can help lower income people more, give them more benefit in terms of drugs compared to people who are able to afford to pay more.
Okay.
So, for example, we launched this new program with pembrolizumab, which is, as you know, not so...
it's a very good drug, but it's very expensive.
So expensive.
Yeah.
So what we've managed to, after I think almost about a year of convincing everyone, the manufacturers agreed to actually expand the use of this drug by affordable, practices. Which now people who are, of course, this is people with no insurance paying for the drug, they can actually go through a means testing, which is basically a form assessing whether you can pay for the drug or not.
So
and
what do they look in this means testing?
So they look at income, expenditure, and very interestingly, we have introduced one of the new components. How much are you financially affected by cancer specifically?
Right, because some people lose their job.
Absolutely. So the impact of you actually having a cancer diagnosis, how much you're paying due to that cancer diagnosis, and we take that into account as well.
Okay.
And with that, now you go for the means test, which is basically done online or in your house through the phone, and you furnish us with some documents. And right after that, we can determine whether you are able to take the drug at a much more cost-effective manner. So basically what's happening is, prior to this, the conventional patient access programs will give you like, you buy one or the company gives you one.
Correct.
Buy one,
Buy one, free one, buy two, free one.
Absolutely. This one puts a cap. So in total, patients who have the advantage of this program, they'll pay for seven times, and after that, they do not pay at all for the entire length of their life if they are on the drug.
Wow, this is actually quite good. So actually, the cost of the drugs is borne by the company itself.
Absolutely.
Oh,
Absolutely.
okay.
And it also opens up a lot of assistance, because now you have a fixed amount, and we have already now also worked on financing, so people can take a short-term loan to pay for that as well. So it allows a lot more people to open up to get that drug if and when they need the drug. So when doctors are able to prescribe, the society comes in to assist to make sure that the patient is able to get the drug. So this is how we're working with innovator drugs.
Okay, so but do the society actually pay for the drugs? Like you give financial assistance to the patient?
Absolutely. So there's quite a bit of subsidy from our side as well. So we're subsidizing. So it's a it's a multi-part stakeholder.
Semua bagi sikit lah, and give everybody a little bit so the price comes down.
Absolutely.
I think that's good. So is it only for that drug or is for many drugs?
So we're doing, I think, like this is the, how to say, big win, but we're doing it in smaller measures for a lot of other drugs as well.
Oh, that's good because cancer drugs are very expensive actually.
Absolutely.
And especially like immunotherapy is actually very costly. And now that the price comes down, the patient get for a longer treatment. And everyone knows immunotherapy drugs goes on for many, many months.
Absolutely.
They do help a lot.
Yeah. And as you will see, the doc, patients will usually get covered by insurance, but only until a certain point of time.
Correct.
Especially when they go into maintenance therapy, that's when people start to koya, literally.
Insurance also has its limits.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's where we try to come in to support at that angle. Okay. So this is what we're doing with innovative drugs, but with biosimilar or generic, we're also going in we've taken a big step forward. We didn't do so much until COVID, when we realized actually a lot of patients were doing very badly. A lot of people lost insurance coverage, and because of that, they have absolutely no access. So we went down this road. We talked to NPRA, National Pharmaceutical Regulatory Agency, Ministry, and all that. And they say one of the ways, we studied the market, we found that one of the ways for us to actually bring down the cost is for us to actually become importer and distributor.
Okay.
So then we went down this road. We went to, I think we spent, quite a significant amount of money getting the licensing in place. And then now we ourselves buy and distribute.
So is it for limited drugs or any drugs?
So, of course, we don't do it commercially. So society has zero markup. So whatever the price that we buy at, we sell directly to the patient. So of course, and it needs to be value to the patient. So it's drugs that we can, negotiate with the companies and get the best possible rate, which we're usually aiming at about 30-40% below the current market rate.
Oh, this is actually very good.
Yep.
So how do I as a clinician would like to send my patient to you? Is there like a pathway?
So actually, it's as simple as writing a prescription and just getting them to call National Cancer Society.
So that they go through this interview process and all, then you guys will see whether they are applicable to this. They're eligible for these drugs for that price, or is it like standard for everyone, whoever goes there?
Okay, so for innovative drugs, because we are working with additional parties who are subsidizing, then they have to go through the means testing, that kind of mechanism.
Fair enough.
But for generic drugs, since the whole subsidy is borne by us, we are opening up to every Malaysian. So anyone who wants to have these drugs, we are absolutely happy to do that.
So these are only for oral or including IV drugs, subcutaneous drugs and all?
IV and subcutaneous drugs as well.
That's good actually.
And very interestingly, we also started going down this road for oral nutrition supplements.
Okay.
So this one, again, working with all the large manufacturers, we are able to do ONS at about 30 or 40% below market.
So when you say 30 to 40%, can you give like the price saving roughly?
So say what's I don't want to mention brands, but XYZ brand of milk formulation, you get it at about 100 ringgit, can give you at about 60 ringgit.
Okay, that's good.
So it's a good saving because again, it's the long term. We notice that these are the things people continue to use, and then they can't quite sustain over a long period of time.
Correct.
So like this one also, as long as you're a documented cancer patient, the physician, the oncologist is writing a prescription, we will serve that prescription.
Okay. So is there anything that NCSM do in the government level to try to make drugs more affordable for a patient rather than you getting drugs for the patient by yourself itself?
Okay. So of course, we're big advocates of kind of working towards bringing in more accessible drugs. We help to, I think, work together with bigger manufacturers to make sure, one, they can manufacture in Malaysia, and when they manufacture in Malaysia, these drugs are available as well. So those are like a big system level interventions that we're doing. But as you know, the Ministry of Health, for example, has limitations on prescribing certain drugs and all that. So for example, maybe we can prescribe only for about 100 people or 110, 150 people. But beyond that, there's the capacity where sometimes patients are able to pay a little bit and they can purchase the drug if needed. So currently, sometimes where we tell these patients, okay, you go outside to a pharmacy and you can get these drugs. So how society comes in is we actually work with other funding bodies. For example, Islamic state government agencies, or we work with Rotary, and we can help fund these patients, especially the B40 patients. So then government doctors, these people are not going to get within the government system, but they're still being seen in a public hospital, treated in the public hospital. What society does is we help to buy those drugs. So but this one, the public sector doctors actually reach out to us.
Okay, but what about talking to like the ministers or the higher level people to try to make drugs more affordable? Because what I feel, when a drug comes to the country, and I'm not sure about other countries and all, like when they come to the country, drug price is always very high.
Absolutely.
Okay. So is there a way, a mechanism, like how we try to convince the government, try to make like a rule or something that a new drug comes in, it has to reach a certain drug price based on our GDP rather than what the company decides on what the price should be?
Absolutely. So, and the big challenge with that, dog, so we do that quite a bit. But what happens then is government does set quite a, how to say, very protective mechanism over the drugs that we buy. It needs to reach a certain threshold and then we'll buy it. But the problem is in the sense of a free market, like WTO regulations or that, you can't control the price in private.
Oh,
so because we can't violate. So there's all these treaties that these fellas have and all that. They can't block the price in private. So government can say, okay, I won't buy for government sector if the price drops below this price.
Okay.
But I cannot control what price you want to sell the private sector because that is the right of the seller, and it's a free market lah. So that's where in this context we have to come in to do this work ourselves. Like for example, like this generic drugs that we're talking to you about, when we distribute directly, there's actually almost a 40 to 50% cost saving, even in the generic drug, which is crazy. So, I mean, of course, business people are taking business margins. I would say, I'm not saying they are wrong, but since we're doing it as a service, then we are not worried at all about margins.
Okay.
So, but that's how we come in to kind of uplift this free market punya private sector or the other sector. So that's why we can't get these drugs at a certain price in the private sector at all. Of course, there is. We have also been advocating this. We're telling the big groups, for example, to be honest, there's only two really big groups, IHH and KPJ. And we're telling them, hey, you all should actually lock a cartel.
Okay.
Because they are buying enough volume. Actually.
Yeah, correct. They have a lot of
and you block a cartel to manufacturers. And because if they put down their foot and say they won't buy unless it's within this price, and then together, then you have a national kind of gridlock.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Maybe I should propose to my CEO also.
Yeah. So, but that's why. So, but interestingly, the problem is at this point in time, purchasing is still at an individual hospital level.
Yeah, correct.
There's mechanisms which we need to put into place, and then we can make this happen a little better.
So looks like the easiest way for someone to get affordable treatment for cancer is by going through biosimilar and generic. But I do understand like some newer drugs which comes, it has a certain patent.
Absolutely.
So mostly, what are the years of patency which the Malaysian regulations say for certain drugs?
So we're still saying within about 12 to 15.
That's quite long.
I think that's still...
In cancer, every 2-3 years, a new drug will come out.
Absolutely.
So to wait for the patent to finish is like, you can wait so long.
Yeah. So what is interesting is, and this is another road that we're trying to talk at the ASEAN level. Okay, so even though there's a patent in, for example, and this drug is, let's say, $50,000 US, the same manufacturer will actually give something called a voluntary license. Okay. So let's say this is, Ribena. So Ribena is 20 ringgit and I'll sell it in America for 20 ringgit.
Okay.
But the same guy, it's not even like a generic. The same company will say, I will sell Ribibu.
Okay. Just
in Africa,
okay.
Different brand, but I'll sell it for 10 ringgit.
Okay.
So this process is called voluntary licensing.
Is it widely applicable?
It's applicable. Companies do it. Problem is you need margin. So in a lot of these companies are very willing to do in big countries like China or India. They'll hive off a separate brand and they will let them sell it at like a margin, the original price. So it's still a patent, still following all the regulations, but the companies are disagree. So for us, the problem is we're too small a country.
Yeah.
So one of the moves that we have been trying to make is get ASEAN,
as
the
a
10
whole.
countries as a whole, to basically all the countries to come together and say to big manufacturers, hey, sell to us as a region. ASEAN will have Raibibu, we will have Ribena. But then they can give it to us at a much, much cheaper cost.
So is this being done in India? Because I feel like India do not have a patency law where the moment the drug comes out, the next week the generic will come out also.
I not as close as that, but that's absolutely right, because their laws are written in a way, but surprisingly India is changing as well. As they get more higher income, they also being forced into all this kind of patent regulatory.
So those days got people, but now they're trying to be like...
So they're also trying to, they're tightening up already. But as I was saying, very interesting, when the drug comes to India, because the companies already know they'll have a generic in like 6 months or something, so they immediately go the voluntary route. So they themselves will choose like some 10 Indian distributors and say, okay, you make Raibibu, you make Raibini, and then they will already drop the price and all that.
So whatever it does, the money still comes to them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, you got 10
That's right.
still you're the main distributor.
Yeah.
So that's a smart move actually.
Yeah. So, but as you see, they're probably take a 1.4 billion.
Yeah.
So ours at 30 million, we're just not big enough as a market.
Okay.
But together, ASEAN as a whole, and one of the bigger countries that do this, which will bring us a lot of, volume, is Indonesia. So even together, us, Indonesia, Thailand, Vietnam, these four as well will have the bulk to negotiate.
So how is it going in this discussion?
It's been a long process. One of the processes that I think took about 7 to 8 years from the time when I was in WHO is getting the countries to actually agree to each other's laws, which we have now done. There's a harmonization process. So if a drug is registered in Malaysia, recognized in Malaysia, then all the other countries will recognize it as well.
Okay.
So within the ASEAN and similarly across ASEAN. So that makes it easier for a drug. So because one of the issues is when you will bring a new drug, I will register, I'll take 2.5 years. Next will come, the will take 2.5 years. So by the time, these fellas have to spend this huge cost to register in 10 countries. Now it's one cost, so it immediately brings down the market entry as well. So then it's easier for us to negotiate, for us to go, like everybody needs to commit to a certain amount of money, and then the fellas can work out like, okay, we can give it at this price.
But actually, that's a good move. And NCSM, actually, you guys are trying to talk to the government, trying to talk to multiple countries to bring down the price of a drug so that it's more affordable.
Yep.
Okay. So anything else which NCSM normally do for cancer patients?
Okay, so other than the drug pocket, what the couple of things that we've been doing is, one, as you know, we run halfway houses.
Okay.
So halfway houses are basically most of our onco centers are in central region.
Yeah.
And of course now a bit in Ipoh, Penang and all that. But people are coming from all over.
Correct.
And the way they come for treatment is, as you know, they come in for like a little pocket where they come either for chemo, radio, and then they're here for a couple of weeks. But KL is not the cheapest city.
Correct.
But neither is Penang. So people come and actually you would have seen this yourself. A lot of people, like the cost of coming is very prohibitive. They come here to stay. The 3 or 4 weeks is people cannot tahan. So we started going down this road of building halfway homes. For a long time, we built halfway home for children, and we've had a children's home functioning because childhood cancer, you have to come to HTA.
Yeah.
Previously, women and children in the HKL, and everybody has to come there. So kids come from all over Malaysia. They stay there. We've put up about 20 beds, and that really functions now as an extension of the ward. But since COVID, we started adult homes. We built about 80 beds for adults in around HKL, aged care services the biggest, and that's been functioning. People coming for free, so they come in. They can come in with a family member or family members,
Okay.
and they can stay for the entire duration of chemo and radio, whatever treatments they're getting in the hospitals. So, and even we've extended it to even any other private hospital. We're saying if your patients are not available, they're not able to pay, by all means, they can put us out.
Is this only applicable for Malaysians or foreigners also?
So far, Malaysians.
Okay.
We're Malaysian charities.
Okay. Agreed.
But what is this? But we're about 107, 108% capacity. People discharged them from we're like government hospital. So we can see the need. We started another 30 beds when the MOH opened onco services in Ipoh. So that's operating as well. We're renovating a new 30-bed facility in Penang to serve HPB.
Okay.
And in Sarawak for the new cancer center when it comes, and in Sabah as well.
Okay.
So wherever there's a tertiary onco center, public center, we try to make sure we put up these services. What we're also doing is we provide dietetics, psychologists, counselors, and play therapists for childhood cancer. So these are head counts that we are paying for. We employ the staff. People can come in and get these services for free at any of our centers in all the states. But our staff are also working in government hospitals to provide these services to public sector patients. So again, it's to defray the small clots. Clinical psychologists, for example, but 60% of cancer patients will have some kind of mental health.
Well, you need some psychological counseling.
Clinical psychology in private is about 200 ringgit an hour. So I will go first session, second session. It's not my psychology go away, but my money finishes.
Yeah.
Do I now choose to buy a drug or do I go for psychology? So to offset that, we are like, okay, these are services we'll provide for free, so people can come and make use of.
You run purely on people's donation?
Absolutely. So it's a public funded organization.
Okay. So you have your hands full as a managing director of NCSN?
For sure, one hand is permanently in the begging position of to ask people to give.
Okay.
But yes, the other hand is helping to pull up any other Malaysian.
I'll start donating to.
Yeah, I feel okay. Always a good thing.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much for being in the show today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much once again.
The Bald Oncologist podcast series